Hey there, Brandon. How's it going? And Heath, you know it, buddy. Notice we're a little bit lower in the bucket now than we were earlier. I did, Steve. I stole the kids' hand-ups. Brent White brought them for me anyway. Those are great hand-ups, though. We need to make that a ritual. Cheese balls, kids' cup hand-up. Hey, Brandon, what's happening? We'll just hang tight here for a little while, let everybody check in, and then we'll get rolling. Yes, it does look a little lighter, Jeremy. I had a few snacks. These are good. What's up, Rory? We'll be talking about you in a minute, so just hang tight. Focus there. And at some point, we'll have our crew from Twisted Spike Brewing Company in Oklahoma City. They'll check in here in a bit. They have a guest, Amanda Batty. Not too familiar with her. Did a little research today. I guess she's a professional downhiller and just kind of all-around crazy girl on a bike. So somehow they managed to wrangle her down there, and she's hanging out with them while they did their trainer night, and then I think they're done at this point. They're probably just drinking again, so which is all good. Alex Canada, what's up? How are those hill repeats, Alex Canada? Big Rock's fun, isn't it? Mike Pickle checks in, same time. It's like the Bat Channel, same place, same time, whatever. I can't remember, but every time he checks in, he's on the trainer. Heath has been already doing his work, getting ready for Land Run 100. We'll chat about that here in a little while. We got a little bit before that happens, but yeah, we'll do a little Land Run talk. I'm not quite ready, but physically I'm ready. My bike setup's not ready. Apparently Heath's already got it done. Kai, you're getting on the trainer late tonight, buddy. But you got it easy though. You're doing like recovery week, aren't you? What's up, Si? We'll give a couple more minutes and we'll get rolling. So just in the meantime, I'll, as usual, I have a few little things to adorn the table and up above me. So I'm wearing my USA Cycling ball cap here, and been trying to turn it into a flat bill. It's one of those trucker caps, and I kind of like the flat bill, so I've been bending the crap out of it trying to get it flat. So got my USA Cycling shirts, and we have Don Lasole, who was we mentioned last time. He usually checks in for these, so I'm not sure where he's at this point. He was going back to Dallas and then working his way back to San Antonio. He's one of our USA Cycling regional representatives. He gave me his title, but it's like super long, and I totally can't remember it. But he was telling us he's in charge of like 7 or 8 states, and we were just one of his states that he's in charge of keeping an eye on and assisting and helping and doing things like that. And he came out and enjoyed our race and had a good time. I'm glad we got to. I think this is probably the first time that I've ever been aware of. We've had a USA Cycling representative of any kind at any of our events, so I think it's pretty cool. So got the USA Cycling stuff rolling here behind me and in front. These are all stuff, and there's a bunch of stickers on the table. A lot of you guys grabbed. So Alex Canada, hit brutal as usual. Yes, Alex is over at Medicine Park with the boys over there. He was doing some hill repeats up Big Rock, so Big Rock's no fun, man. That's like 22% or something like that, crazy at the highest grade. Gabe Edmonds, man, what's happening? Checking in from Arkansas, one of my single speeders. Nicole Downs, Caldwell, what's happening? Yes, I just mentioned that. Nicole's with the crew at Twisted Spike. did their trainer ride tonight, and they've got Amanda Batty with them. And yeah, so invite Amanda Batty to log in. I'm not sure how to do that. I guess I have another page, so if you guys point her to the Facebook group page, then I can definitely add her real quick. I have a secondary page tab open. So I'll keep that to the Tier to Dirt page, and if that ad pops up, then I'll make sure that happens. There more. Usual smart ass comment as usual is just why we love you, buddy. He says I'm not here, but unless that's Drew stealing his phone, typing in on it, that which very well could be. All right, let's get rolling. We've had a few people check in, and I'm sure some more will pop in, but let's go ahead and get busy. Just a few little tidbit items that I like to do at the first to get those out of the way before we talk about the biggies. As usual, I mean, this is just pretty normal. I mean, there's always little things that happen at each event, usually kind of negative things, and I just like to address those, and I address those to kind of guide the people that maybe don't know, to reinforce to the people that should know, and just, you know, try to get the other people that do know to spread it around, and spread it within your team and pass the information along, and just and help everybody that needs this information. So I've stressed this at every single one of these when I've been talking about race day preparation and race day planning and race day this and that. Be on time. Actually, no, don't be on time. Be early. Early. Being on time is not good enough. Be early. There's a lot of things that have to happen for you to get to the start line. To do it efficiently, to allow our officials to get your name on the start, you to pay your money, for you to get registered, for you to get your tag. All of these things take time. It's hard on the officials. It's hard on the people at registration. It's hard on you personally if you're trying to race and you're stressed out and you're in a hurry. I know firsthand. Happened to me at Claremore. It happens to me frequently just because of what I do, but it happened again, and I'll explain what happened to me and just give you an idea, and it's just part of the gig, and I have to deal with it. But the key thing is be early. So many of the issues that we're running into with racers, they are coming to these events late. I mean, I probably sold 5 or 6 number plates to beginner racers with less than 5 minutes left for registration. So that's cutting it pretty darn close. Don't cut it close. Just get it done. Get there early, get it taken care of, and then you're not in a rush. The problem with missing the cutoff, and the reason we have a time cutoff, we cut off everything 30 minutes prior to the race because we have things that we have to do. I say we, I don't. Our officials have things that they have to do. They have to get these start sheets. They have to start looking through them, making sure they look okay. Then they have to get to the start line. And then at 15, 20 minutes till, they have to call everybody to the start line. They've got to start doing a roll call. And especially with a Cat 3 field, we have so many categories, so many people, it takes forever to do the roll call. So you just showing up late doesn't doesn't work. We had a couple of incidents, and I'm actually going to be talking with our promoters, you know, to make sure that they don't allow this to happen. We can't let someone just rush in and decide that they want to register at the last minute. Can't do it. Okay, we're not gonna. I think we've had some issues and we've allowed that just because of some miscommunication, but that's probably not going to happen again. So give yourself time. Next. Know the course. Granted, not everybody can pre-ride. I realize that. Sometimes I'm able to pre-ride, sometimes not. Most of the time I do. If we can't get up prior to, and with us back-to-backing 3 races in a row, it was not convenient to get up and pre-ride those courses. So I just pre-rode the day before. Granted, I've been riding a while, so I'm fairly familiar with the courses, but obviously Claremore this weekend, nobody was familiar with it. It's a new course. It's brand new. I rode it for the first time Saturday. I rode a lap and a half. Had no issues. We had a few get off course in our beginner field, and I think in our 19 to 29 field. It's unfortunate, but it does happen. The course is marked pretty well, and I don't think those mistakes should have been made, but it's super easy to make a mistake like that when you're in race mode and you're at threshold and you're so focused on just going. I get it, but it's a learning lesson. So for those of you that got off course, it does happen, but now that you know what you need to do to prepare. If you don't get a chance to pre-ride it, then you need to find somebody. Most everybody is on a team that has someone that's raced it or pre-ridden it. Go talk to them. Say, hey, are there any questionable intersections? Do I need to know anything? Just tell me about it. I'm not going to get a chance to pre-ride. Let me know. And I guarantee there's someone on your course that would be willing to do that. I do that for a lot of riders on our bike lab team. They don't get a chance to pre-ride. I typically do, and I give them all the 411 on the course and everything. So anyway, you gotta take it upon yourself to know the course and know what's going on. So anyway, enough said about that. Let's see, Scott Hutchin, yes sir, cheese ball hand up. Scott was the instigator of the cheese balls. So here's the cheese balls. Little story behind the cheese balls. Brent White and I were talking last week before Claremore race, and I don't know, I just told him that I just got off the trainer. He had a question for me, and I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm sitting in the chair eating a bag of cheesy puffs. And so I was like, well, you need that big monster bucket. And well, what did he come to the race with? The big monster bucket. So yeah, so it ended up at my house. And apparently Scott Hutchins and the boys from Wichita Falls were doing cheese ball hand ups with the Kids Cup race at Claremore. So it's pretty awesome. But they're with me now, so I've been snacking on them all week. They're pretty tasty. Kevin Snyder, you did not. You'll be last. We'll talk about the pressure talk and the bike tires and stuff like that later on. Just kind of doing intro stuff now, so you're all good. Looks like Brandon tried to answer him as well too, so we're all good. Enough of the true to dirt items. Let's jump right in. Shoreline Shred, Claremore, Oklahoma. New venue, fat tire. Hence my little fat tire cup right here. You guys can see that. So a little Shoreline Shred. I got a little hardware as well too, so I'm pretty stoked about that. Team Wine Box, keeping in good with you guys as well. So wow, didn't know what to expect. A lot of talk leading into fat tire, just like we had a lot of talk leading into turkey, and I try to laugh it all off, but unfortunately I get involved in it all. Everybody's talking about the weather. It's going to rain on Saturday. It's going to do this. What are we going to do on Sunday? Well, you can't do shit about it. You're just going to wait and you're going to ride your bikes. That's what we always do. And it turned out perfect. I mean, I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt. It was like 75 degrees on Saturday, no rain. Pre-read the course, got a lap and a half in, actually a lap and 3/4 in. And it was wonderful, man. This was an unbelievable trail. And I'd met with Rory and a couple of his boys that do all the trail work up there. There's a whole crew. So I give Rory all the props. He deflects it and gives all the props to all of his crew in the town. And sorry about that. I'm screwing the focus of my camera here about moving around. And it's just kind of the way it's going to go. So met with him, and we did a pre-ride of that course at Thanksgiving, just to do an evaluation. It was a new course. Just became aware that we were going to have a race, and I had to go down and do an eval on this part of the gig. For me, I got to make sure we have a viable race course, and rode the course. And I was like, boy, it was interesting. There were some cool features, but it was completely not race ready. And gave Rory a call because I hit that trail on the way to Arkansas to do an Arkansas trip with Desiree and a group of us, and just said, okay, this is what's got to happen. just check off the list. Gave him a list, and man, next thing you know, work day after work day after work day, and it's like, boom, all of a sudden, hey, we've got a 9.5 or 9, I don't know, 9, I'll call it a 9 mile. I think it ended up being about 9.1 for me. Got a 9 mile race loop. And there's still some more trail out there that we didn't do, but that's a pretty darn sweet 9 miles. It's got everything off camber, rocks, downhill, climbs, smooth, flat, fast stuff like Draper and Bluff. It's got a mixture of just about everything. So all of this, I'd say probably 3.5 to 4 miles of that stuff that we rode at the race was brand new, didn't exist in Thanksgiving. So those guys did a wonderful job, and man, oh man, it just turned out so well. I mean, great venue, having that I think it was Happy Hollow, something like that, campground up top, having all that for camping, hanging out the night before, a great venue location, a pavilion and tents, and just the location turned out great. And I don't have the exact numbers, but knock on wood, I think some of the preliminary stuff I see, I think we tapped right at about 200, maybe snuck over a little bit, but we're in that ballpark again. And this is and if we are, which I hope we are, I'm pretty sure that we did reach that. This will be the 3rd race in a row that we've reached our magic 200 number that we always try to reach. So, I mean, that's pretty astounding. So, I mean, we had a bunch of road guys come in. I probably sold plates to, I don't know, 20 people that came up to me and said, this is my first race. I mean, that's amazing that we're bringing all these people in because they're so jonesed about doing bike racing and mountain bike racing in the Tour de Dirt. And I just hope we keep it rolling. Apparently we're doing something right. So people are getting jazzed up about it and wanting to do it. Good courses, good venues help that. So, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about the race this weekend. It was just, I was thoroughly impressed. Turned out great. Fat Tire guys pulled out a good one along with the local Claremore folks, and I just can't say enough about how things turned out and how that trail is. I will say one thing, just I said this to a few people, and when I first rode Claremore, it was one of those trails that, like, if I'm in the neighborhood, I'll go ride that, but I'm not going to go out of my way. At this point, with what they created and what we raced this weekend, I'd ride out of my way to go there. I would make that a destination trail to go ride, specifically to go ride. So, thumbs up, boys, Claremore, Shoreline Shred, Fat Tire, you guys pulled it off. First time. It's not Adam's first rodeo with Fat Tire, but everybody else around him with the Claremore crew is their first time. So you pulled it off, did well. Awesome venue, good stuff. Thumbs up. All right, let's roll on to the next one. So got a little USA triathlon for any of you guys out there that might be multi-sport. I'm not, but I got a little cup here. So Yuzu, Y-U-Z-U flavored vodka. It's pretty tasty. Alex, I was moving around a minute ago and my camera was getting out of focus. That might have been it. Are you good now? Alex kind of chimed in and said he's having a little trouble viewing it. So if anybody else is having that, you might holler at me. All right, we got a couple other just little items I want to touch on, and then we'll finish up with topic that I think a lot of people are tuned in for about tires and tire pressure. So we've got a little break from Tour de Dirt. We don't get to go again until April, And so I think we've got 1, 2, 3. I think we've got 3 weeks off. Well, I mean, most people have 3 weeks off. We come back on April the 8th with Fool's Dozen, and back-to-back that with Boulder Bash, and back-to-back that with Keystone. So we've got 3 coming up, but the next on our target is Fool's Dozen at Medicine Park. So we'll talk more about that. I don't want to go into detail with that right now. I've still got a few weeks. I'll keep doing my weekly update, even though we're not having to do dirt races, because we're doing something. And in fact, I am doing something. So we've done 3 in a row, and we've got 5 in a row coming up, because number 4 is next weekend with Land Run 100. So I think, all right, Corey, think latency issue. Sounds like we're all good. Okay, very cool. So probably some kind of signal issue. I think we're all good. Yeah, a lot of Medicine Park talk. Yeah, we'll do more Medicine Park later. I will just give you a little bit of a hint. We're still working on it. I'm working with some of the boys down at Medicine Park, and we're looking at doing. Well, one thing's for sure, we're going to stage it differently. If you guys remember where the Kids Cup course is at, we're actually going to stage everything and start and finish everything over there. We're trying to move out of the downtown stage area because there's just so much traffic and there's so much tourism down there that when we have a race down there, we block all that up. And so we're actually going to move that out to the Kids Cup. It's going to make a, still, I mean, we have ways to do the start, and we'll be talking more about that later as we work out the details. The Cat 3 course will still be the same. It's just the way that we get to it and the way we do it will be slightly differently, but same basic course. The Cat 1-2 course will actually be almost completely different at the first part. We'll still go over and do the Cat 3 course as the second part, but the first part over on the east side will be slightly different, and we're currently working on that part. So we'll have maps and information on that coming up soon. So yeah. So anyway, we'll be good to go with that, and we'll talk more about that later. But it's going to be fun, and man, they've got Friday festivities planned and Saturday festivities planned. There's bands and there's hosties playing at the tavern on Saturday night, I think, or is that Friday night? I can't remember. I was talking to Steve Cordes earlier today, and I got stuff mixed up. So, but we'll get all that dialed in. He's working on the flyers for all that. We've got a bunch of Strava events going on that weekend where you can just go out and do a Strava segment and check in at 4 o'clock or something like that, and then they'll do awards. So it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of things going on. So Brent White checked in. Leftover cheese balls. There's a few left over. Brent White is the culprit. He's the one that bought these things. So, and they're stuck in my house, and I'm still eating them. So, Steve Cordes Friday, Hostie Tavern. Fun time. So if you can take off Thursday a little early, skip out of work on Friday and come on up, it's going to be a good weekend at Medicine Park. Scott Hutchins, Keystone Full Gas Omnium Road Race next weekend. I'm going to try to pre-ride Medicine Park if we can. All right, cool. There's rattlesnakes all out there. Heath Narney says, get rid of that monster rattlesnake that scared me last year. We ran into a few of those. We're not doing Roman nose this year. Roman nose is where we always run into those big fatties. We're up sitting on the dam as we race. It seems like every year we had one there. Apologize, cheese balls, got to eat them. They're tasty. All right, we'll get back on Land Run. Let's make this quick. Land Run's coming up next weekend. A lot of you guys are doing it. A lot of you guys are sitting out. We do it every year. I think I took 1 year off because I was injured, and then 1 year we doubled up. I did the 50 instead of the 100 because we had to do Land Run one weekend and turn around and do Outback at Post Oak the very next day. So we opted for the 50 miler since we knew that we were going to be doing two rides in the mud, and we did. And I think the Outback was probably muddier than Land Run, believe it or not. So thankfully, OKC Bike Lab gave us the what we call the Land Run Special. Unfortunately, we had to drop 2 bikes in that year. But anyway, I've been doing this for a long time. Land Run's awesome. We've got a ton of people want to go do it, whether you're doing the 50, whether you're doing the 100, whether you're racing this thing, or whether you're just trying to finish. Last year was utterly and physically horrible. I managed to finish. I think only about maybe 20% of the people finished. I probably should not have finished. Weather was just not conducive. It was cold. It was rainy. It was wet, smutty. We had no brakes. It was horrible and awesome all at the same time. I'm so glad I did it, and I'm so glad I finished, but I don't want to do it again. Weather forecast looking beautiful. So, Brandon Reed, but did you die? I did not. Although I was questioning that at various points on that when I was counting how many minutes between hypothermic shakes I was having. So, but this year weather looks great. We haven't had rain for a few days, a week maybe. I'm not sure exactly when the last time Stillwater had rain. We're clear all week. We're clear through Saturday. I think there's a little something coming in Sunday, but who cares? We're done by then. And I think it's supposed to be low of 44, high of, I don't know, almost 70 or maybe 70, in the ballpark of 70. Wow. Yeah, it's so it's going to be good. It may be this may very well be the second year ever that it's been dry. I've done it one other time that it was dry. Like I think that was probably the very first time they had it, and looks like this year is going to be dry. So I'll be putting on my 38s and going for a little bigger tire, lower tread pattern. Don't need muds and don't need skinny tires to shed the mud because probably won't be carrying my bike. So Land Runs Blast, you guys. Even if you can't do it and you've heard, I mean, you didn't get in, you at least got to come down and hang out. Friday night's going to be a ball. Registration, hanging out at Iron Monk. I think they block off I don't know, they block off the whole area, and it's just a big party. It's fun. Great atmosphere, cyclists, riders, mountain bikers, roadies, gravelers. It's all good. So it's all biking. It's just a cool environment, and it's just blowing up and getting big. So we'll be there. Come find me, and we'll drink a beer together. So anyway, all right. Cleo Berger chimed in and says, land run and post oak, broke 2 bikes in 2 days, 1 derailleur and 1 swing arm. Yeah, that was a rough weekend. I'm telling you. I mean, I've done mud races before, but I've never back-to-back 2 in a row. Knock on wood, single speed, I came out unscathed. Well, granted, I lost every bearing in both bikes, but didn't break anything major, so got lucky. Charlie Lingerfeld, you bet. Land Run 100, can't wait. What's the date again for Medicine Park, Joe Hoke? Let me pop in. Well, first of all of that information is on oktdd.org, and you can find all that information, but I will go ahead and look it up. I'll pop over a new tab here. It is April the 8th. Should know that off the top of my head, but I have a lot of things rolling through this brain of mine, so I can't ever remember dates. I suck at those kind of things. All right, moving on. We're 30 minutes in, and maybe I'll keep it under an hour this time. I haven't heard anybody from Twisted Spike check in. How are you guys out there? I saw Nicole earlier, so you guys still hanging tight and having a good time? Get your good training right in? Or did you guys go straight to just drinking? All right, next subject. So again, both of these races that are coming up, I just talked about Land Run. I'm fixing to talk about the Ouachita Challenge. These are 2 races that have just grown and grown and grown over the years. Land Run is obviously in Stillwater. Ouachita Challenge is a big mountain bike race. It's a 60-mile marathon mountain bike race near Mena. It's actually in Odin, Arkansas, but it's near Mena's the next closest big town, or somewhat town. And things just kind of blown up over they've been doing it 20 plus years. I can't remember. I've been doing it off and on for 15. And it's just a big race. And they're both so popular, Land Run and Ouachita, that I actually factor both of those in as no-goes for the True to Dirt schedule. So Luckily, they set their dates, and I avoid them because we have so many people from Oklahoma that do both of these events. You can't conflict because we all want to do everything, and we're gonna try to make that happen. So anyway, Ouachita Challenge coming up. So just finished Claremore. Next weekend we go do 100 miles of land run. Some are gonna do the 50. I'm gonna knock out the 100, and we got a few people bumping up doing the 100 as well on our team. So I'm looking forward to seeing how those guys do. We then turn around, have a little spring break action for me. Not everybody's on the same spring break, so I'm off that week, and then I'm turn around and roll straight into Ouachita Challenge the week after that. And Ouachita Challenge is tough. It's fun. We'll wait and see what the weather does. I haven't really looked at the extended forecast, but it's pretty much it's a go no matter what. They do it rain or shine, cold, doesn't matter. And we'll make it happen. So, but it's I'm looking forward to it this year. I'm a little more fit, and I'm hoping that I do a little bit better. I struggled last year at all the marathon distances, and my buddy Chris Rogers kicked my ass at all of these, and so I'm hoping to be in the ballpark with him this time. So I think we'll be okay. We'll see how it goes. It's a single speed nightmare though doing Ouachita Challenge because they have like 15 miles of road and gravel, and then you've got all the climbing. So it's like, what gear do you pick? Do you want to climb or do you want to go fast on the road? Whichever you pick, you're going to suck at the other end. So it's like you got to pick your magic number. So we'll see how it goes. Oh, Heath Arning, you suck, man. I just wanted to not know. Keith Arning just posted in. He says, as of yesterday, rain for Ouachita Challenge. Oh, man. Oh, well. As long as it's not, like, super cold, I don't care. I'll ride in the mud, but shit, I just don't want to do cold and wet again. All righty. Let's move on. And, again, if you guys have questions or things you want to talk about, just pop up questions or, in the comments. I'm keeping an eye on them. There hadn't been a lot of comments. I've tried to address a few of them. I think we have. So this is probably going to be the big topic, and this this blew up after Claremore, and then also a comment from Rob Bell, who had the pleasure of riding with most of the race at Claremore because he was in the category in front of me and he had a flat tire. He was able to fix it and then got back on with us, but in my group. But the thing is at that point he was out of touch with the lead group and there was nobody behind him, so he really didn't have anything to race for, and he didn't want to interfere with our race, and there were 2 or 3 of us racing together in our age group. So he just kind of rode and had a good time, and whole time I'm stressed, he's back behind me talking like he's not even stressed at all, of course. So Rob's an awesome athlete if you guys don't know Rob. But anyway, Rob asked the question on Facebook because he flatted. He's like, so for all of you guys that flatted, what kind of tire were you using? What kind of pressure were you using? And I kind of skimmed that again a little bit ago, but it kind of blew up. There's a bunch of threads. And this is another one of those topics that everybody has a point of view. Everybody has what works for them. Everybody has a tire preference. Everybody has a pressure preference. Everybody has a tire size preference. So there's no one answer fits all. I am going to kind of address the generalities. I'm going to tell you what I do, and then I'm going to tell you what a couple of other people that I know do, just to give you some things to look at. But I think from that information, you'll be able to get a starting point on what works or what you can try. The whole point is trying things, okay? Kind of understanding the whole concept of tire size, tires themselves, tire pressures, and there's a whole lot involved. You think it's like, those look pretty good, I'm going to buy those. Just put them on. Okay, it says on the side of the tire what pressure. I'm just going to put that in. I'm going to give them a squeeze. I feel pretty good. Okay. You can get by with that if you're just like riding around the neighborhood, or you're just going to go out for a little, stroll on the trail, or maybe you're just, floofing around Bluff Creek or something like that. I mean, that's okay. But when it comes to race time, when it comes to terrain, when it comes to performance, when it comes to obstacles. There's a whole lot more to it that allows you to go fast, be safe, have control of your bike, and not flat. And so I'm just going to give you a quick example of what I do. I'm 165 pounds. I would say that I'm not a very careful rider. So one of the things that was brought up by John Bueno and Brent Wyrath commented on it, which Brent's an old friend of mine. We go back to early 2000s racing against each other. And riding style, whether you have a hardtail or full squish, also makes a difference. A lot of us ride hardtails. I'm a single speed, so I'm riding a hardtail. That makes a difference too, because all the hits that I take in the rear are going to be harder than what you take with your full squish, because your suspension is going to take some of that off, take some of that edge off. So you have to be really careful about tire pressures. The whole key is you don't want to have low enough pressure where you hit the tire is allowed to hit your rim. In the old days with the tube, that was called a pinch flat, and you would pinch the tube and it would flat because the tube would get pinched up against the rim. It's the same thing with tubeless. You know, you case a rock with low pressure and you hit your rim, that contact with your rim will often cause you to cut your tire. You could just get a cut, you know, from rock hitting your tread as well too. But with a tubeless, a big enough cut, and then you can't, the sealant won't seal it. Maybe you can't plug it, things like that. So anyway, I'm 165. I ride a hardtail. I ride 2.3s front and back. I choose to go a little bit larger tire. And that's a larger tire for cross country. There are still people that ride larger tires. I mean, you've got fat bikes. You've got people that still prefer the 2.4s or even 2.5s. You have the 3s, which are the mid fats. But you're not going to see a lot of that in typical cross country racing, because those tires that get above 2.3 are usually heavier, and most people don't want that extra weight. To me, 2.3s are fine. I say the range that we're talking about is 2.1s to 2.3s. Most of us and most of the people are in that range. So 2.3s, I run fast track grids, specialized tires. There are other models that have bigger knobs, like the ground control, and then I think there's a Butcher that are specialized. There's some other brands out there, and we'll talk about those other brands in a minute. I'm just telling you what I run. But I run the grids. The grid is a model of specialized tire that is like the Vittoria TNT. It has it's a little thicker. It has extra sidewall protection and extra protection on there for cuts and things of that nature. I run those, and I have very few issues. I run about 25 to 26 in the front, and I run between 26 and 28 in the back. And that's a little bit more than normal. I can get away with probably 21, 22 in the front, and I could probably get away with about 23 maybe in the back if I wanted to go as low as possible. And if I had a course that was super flat with a trail bed that's not going to be hitting anything, like T-Bird, Draper, things like that, I would run a lower pressure, because the lower pressure gives you better cornering control and better grip and turns. However, the sacrifice is that if you case a rock, or you case a root, or you case anything that you're bumping over, you stand a chance of hitting that so hard that you compress it up against your rim and can possibly cut your tire. And I hate hitting my rims. Brandon Malott alluded to that a minute ago in that thread. He hates hitting his rim as well, so he runs way more pressure than everybody. And in fact, Brandon runs. He uses Continental X King Protect. That's a tire that I used to use as well too. I like that tire, and I rode quite some time with success. The only thing that I don't like about it as much is that it's a very, very hard rubber compound. So it's not quite as soft as the other rubber compounds. I like the Fast Track because it's a little bit softer rubber compound. And for me, when I'm hitting on the rocks and I'm trying to power up the rocks, it gives me a little bit better traction, especially if wet or muddy. However, both are good tire selections. They're both durable. Brandon, however, runs huge pressure. He runs like 28, 30 pounds front and back. So, you know, he's and obviously it doesn't affect his cornering because he's, you know, pretty much one of the fastest guys around. So, you know, that gives you kind of an idea. I did see a post from Kalian Carlberg, which probably butchering your name, Kalian, but I'm sorry. Rides for Sound Pony, Tulsa guy, ex-roadie. He's converted. Another roadie we've converted to mountain biking, and we love it. He chimed in and said he's running. I think he's running same as me. He's running the Grid 2-3 fast tracks front and back, but he said he's running like 18, 19 pounds of pressure, and I mean, I'm guessing he probably weighs about the same as me, maybe a little more. So that's pretty impressive that he runs that low. I've tried that. I just can't do it. It feels like the rim's rolling off, and I'm not a careful rider when I'm bashing through the rocks. I want more pressure because I don't want to hit that rim. Let's see. I'm gonna see if we got some comments here. Michael Pickle is done with his ride. All right. Joe Hoke, I'll try to get to that question in just a minute about sealant. Kevin Wagner, heavy tires full of air, way faster than light tires that are flat. Kevin, sometimes that's true, sometimes that's not. And in fact, I'll disagree with that in most cases on cross-country racing. I would agree with your assessment if you're doing adventure riding and you're doing just rides mostly. But if you're actually racing competitively, speed, heavier tires with high pressure, they're not going to be better than mid-range pressure, proper pressure, and smaller tires. Simple physics. So you may feel more comfortable in them yourself, but when it comes to physics, the smaller tires with the proper pressure, not the higher pressure, but the proper pressure is actually going to be better. Let's see. So we had a couple questions about sealant. So I think I've covered a lot of those. Let me before I get to the sealant, let me see if I can just go ahead and finalize this topic a little bit. So we had several questions about the tires themselves. Now, I don't want to get into this too much. I'm just going to give you some generalities and some of the comments that came on that thread. There's no one tire that fits everybody. I mean, it depends on where you ride, depends on what your shop is, depends on what you're used to, depends on what you've been exposed to. It's all different. Depends on your bike, depends on your riding style. Your riding style even affects that. So I've mentioned the Continental X King Protect a lot. Several of those guys ride that now. I've ridden that in the past and just moved away from it. I'm currently riding Specialized. A lot of us ride Specialized. And if you are riding Specialized, you need to be riding the grids, the extra protection, thicker sidewalls, thicker treads, great protection, flat control. Vittoria TNT is a big one. A lot of people ride those. I used to ride them as well. Several of us, however, have moved away from those because what we experienced is that with the TNTs, and they used to be, well, I don't know how to pronounce it, DX or I don't know, however you say that. Now it's just Vittoria. But the TNTs, I used to run them all the time. Well, first of all, you can't get them on your damn rims because the beads are so hard. But the second thing is yes, the sidewalls are great, but my trouble was from the corner all the way in the front where the tread was at. I think that the TNT protection didn't go all the way into the tread because almost all my cuts didn't happen in the sidewall. They all happened in the tread, and I cut those things like crazy. So I finally went away from them. I don't know, maybe just me, but I mean, that's an issue that I had with all the Vittorias that were the TNTs, that were the sidewall protected ones. And the last one that was mentioned, there were several Maxxis versions. I don't even go, there's all kinds of Maxxis models, but there were several you guys running Maxxis. And everybody that ran those said they had pretty good success, or Icons that were Aspens. I've run an Ardent before. I used to run Ardents, Maxxis Ardents. Love those things. 2.4s, big old fat beefy things, but man, soft, supple rubber compounds, so they were grippy. You could run, with the bigger tires, you could run a slightly lower volume. So anyway, so those are the 4 big ones. So you've got the Vittoria, you've got the Specialized, you got the Continental, you got the Maxxis. But it seems like a lot of people with the Vittorias had trouble. So I don't know. I can add more to that later, but I think that covers just generalities. At least gives you a ballpark on where to start, and the fact that you need to think about it and roll into a race and going, here, squeeze. Oh, it feels okay. It doesn't mean that it's okay. A pound here, a pound there could make a difference, and you can't tell that by squeezing. You can't tell if you've got 22 or you've got 26 pounds of pressure in your tire by squeezing. So anyway, get a pump, get a gauge, check that thing. That's the last thing that I do when I roll to the start line. Check my tires. Simple as that. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Like Pickle, and same time as Cord. Alex Canada. Be trial. Alex Canada says there will be trial and error for every year. Every individual. Brandon may be higher than usual, but he also has a suspension dialed in. Yeah, so basically it is going to be trial and error for every individual. So I'm just trying to give you some generalities, some things to think about. And it does make a difference if you have the full squish. So, if you've got a full suspension, you could probably run lower pressure in your rear, or at least run the same front and back. I run about 2 or 3 pounds higher in my rear because I ride hardtail, so I don't have any suspension. So everything that my tire hits, it hits full speed, and there's no give. So if you've got a full suspension bike, you'll have some give, and that allows you to run a little lower pressure. It's not going to case that wheel as much. Let's see. And Kevin Wagner's been talking about some of his PSI and his weight. He said he's running, but I think he runs really big tires. He says he runs like 17, 18 pounds, but I think he runs some really big tires, and really big tires have more volume, so you can get away with lower pressure. Brent Wyworth says all gauges are different. Use the same gauge. You know how the gauge reads, and that's true. All the gauges. I mean, you use one pump. I mean, I'll use Des's pump and I'll use my pump. They don't read the same, but you got to know. You got to know. It's like, okay, well, if I'm using Des's pump, it reads a couple pounds high, so then I need to let it go a little bit low. So he's right. Always use the same pump. Set your standard. And then evaluate from there, and always use the same thing. No, it's all good, Debbie. Hey, you guys got a pro down there, Mandy Batty, hanging out at the Twisted Spike. Don't listen to me, man. You guys talk to her. You can watch me recorded. She's live, so you guys do your thing. All right, I'm gonna hit sealant a little bit. Honestly, I haven't really thought about this too much. I've just been doing it forever, but most of us are doing tubeless tires. So if you're doing tubeless tires, you got sealant. So first and foremost, you pretty much have 2 options. I mean, there's a variety of options. Some people make their own. I thought about doing that, but honestly, I'm not very good at that, and I don't have a lot of time, so I just buy it. I mean, hell, Bike Lab hooks me up, so I just buy it. I use Orange Seal. I have used stands. I have no issue with either. I've used both, and both successfully. They both have pros. They both have cons. They both seal your tires. I think they both seal your tires just fine. The only con for me for the Orange Seal is that it clogs your valve cores, but I don't know, it doesn't bother me too bad. I just bought a whole packet of those things on Amazon for like $10. I have like 12 of them, so they're like less than $1 a piece. So my valve core gets clogged up. I don't even bother cleaning it. I just yank it out, throw it in the trash, put a new one in. I'm good to go. Don't worry about it. With stands, the only issue that I had was that it dried up a little bit quicker for me, and then it gets those stands boogers. You get those little balls of, stands brains rolling around your tire. Again, that's not really a big thing. So I replenish my stands and my mountain bike tires probably about every 3 weeks. If I'm really, really riding a whole lot and I'm out in the extremes a lot, then I'll do it maybe every couple of weeks, but definitely every 3. And how I do that, I mean, you can do it however you want, but obviously if you're taking the shop, they have their ways, but a lot of times they just pull it off the rim, they dump it in there, and then they seal it back up, but that's not good for me. So my recommendation is to get an injector. There's a variety of them out there. I have an old school stands injector, which is basically like a big shot, and it has a little tube on the end of it with a little screw that screws right on top of your, after you pull your valve core, it sits right on top of your deal, and you just screw it in, and you just pour stands in the tube, and you pop it in there, and you squirt it in like you're doing shot. And the key to that is that if I'm sitting in a parking lot at a trail and I need some stands because my tire's going low, I don't have an air compressor handy. I don't have one of those fancy dancy, pumps that have the big pressure tube where you can pump it up and then blow pressure in your tire. So the odds of me, if I break my seal on my tubeless tire, I may very well not get it sealed back up. Maybe I can blast a CO2 in there and get lucky, but I don't want to break my seal. So I just pull the valve core. I pour it in using the injector through the valve core. Put the valve core back in, air it up. There you go. You're done. Piece of cake. I mean, hell, I did that to 2 tires before the gravel growler on my gravel bike at what was it, a month ago, when we did that at Shawnee. My tires were going flat. My tires went flat on the way up there, and literally 10 minutes before the race started, I ran to my car, pulled up both valve cores. I dumped like 6 ounces of of orange seal into both my tires, put my valve cores back in. I was good to go. So, and I was fine. So, super easy to do. Elizabeth, no, let's see. No, sorry. Alyssa Lutz says, how often do you check the pressure in your fork and suspension? Well, I'm not very good at that. Honestly, if it feels okay, I don't ever touch it. Plus, I don't have a full squish, so I only have one to check. My front fork's good. I think recommendation is you pretty much check it every ride, every race, but I don't know. I give mine a test. I don't worry about it. Rory Peterson, thanks everybody for the great time at Claremore. Sorry about all the flats. Hey, it's nothing to be sorry about, Rory, man. That is tire selection, pressure selection. That just happens, brother. Alyssa says, yes, Joe Hawk, finish line has some out that does not dry out. Not sure. Okay, I think that covers all of that. Yeah, I think that covers all the questions. If you have some more questions, ask away. But and I guess just the final with tire pressure is that it varies from course to course. I change it every course. I do. Every course is different. Rocky course, rooty course. If it's a slow bouldery course where you're not taking a lot of hits, it might run a little lower pressure. But if it's courses where you're going fast and you're hitting rock gardens or you're hitting things, you want more pressure because you want to be able to take those chances that you might case a rock. So anyway, you just got to kind of figure that out. And I don't know, if you have comments, or personal questions, you can ask me later, but I guess we'll roll on from there. That was a big subject, and we're almost an hour or so. I'm gonna cover the last one real quick. I had some pictures, but it doesn't look like I can actually add pictures in here. So you saw kind of the podium pics. I'm just gonna make a joke of it, but I can't actually add I can add an emoji in here, but I can't add a picture in here. I don't know why that is. So anyway, I could probably share my screen, but I haven't figured that out yet. So I'm not going to even worry about podium etiquette, but if you look at the pictures, I picked one out. It was a single speed picture. So go look at the single speeders. They did a pretty good job of it. The guy in the center that wins, 2 hands up, whatever you've got. The guy on one side, you put one hand kind of behind the winner, and then you have your award up. The guy on the other side does just the opposite. Hand behind the winner, podium up. So outside guys, hands up. The winner, 2 hands up. You can kind of look and see it. Some of the pictures. I took a picture of mine, and the joke that got this started was Scott Hutchins chimed in. I'm gonna tell this story just because it's funny. It may not mean shit to you guys, but it's funny for us. So Scott Hutchins is one of our Wichita Falls guys. So is Aaron McDaniel. Aaron McDaniel doesn't drink. Scott Hutchins, how he's reached his 40s and has not drank coffee, I can't imagine, but somehow he's managed to reach his late 40s and never drink a cup of coffee. So the two of them were talking, and Aaron's, we call him Big Tech, says, well, I'll drink a beer if you'll drink coffee. And that's a bad Texas accent, but, that's our Tex. So Scott's like, I'll do that. And when Tex told me that story, the first thought was like, man, you screwed up. You didn't specify what beer you would drink. So naturally, Scott, the man, he comes with I don't know what it was. It was like, you got your 40s. This looked like an 80 of Milwaukee's Best. It was a huge can. Naturally, Aaron wouldn't drink it. I still don't think Scott drank the coffee. But I ended up with the Milwaukee's Best, so it was on the podium. So I didn't do proper podium etiquette because I had a beer in my hand in this side, and I got second, so it'd be my right hand over here, and then I had my award here, and I was supposed to have my award behind, my hand behind, but I had my award here because I wanted to show it. So the beer screwed up mine, so I messed up the proper podium etiquette. But anyway, so that's a good story. I don't know. That was a lot of beer. That was a big can, but it was tasty. It was a beast. It wasn't PBR, but hey, little Milwaukee's Best was good. So, all right, I think I'm on to 44. Ain't late. There you go. Gabe Edmonds, single speed. All right, Kevin Wagner, thanks. You bet, man. Roy Peterson, too much buffering. Sorry, man. All right, I'm out. So I'll have this up to YouTube here in probably the next, 15, 20 minutes. So if you want to go out and link to my YouTube, you can get that. So if you had some buffering issues, you'll be able to watch the video without that, hopefully. So sorry I missed all my folks out at Twisted Spike. Wish I could have been there live. Maybe one of these days I'll be able to come down there, and I'll bring my laptop, and we'll do something live from there and let you guys be on this instead of me. So enjoyed it. See you guys later.